Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how to repack your wheel bearings. We'll clean out all the old grease and then repack the wheel bearings that are already existing in this wheel with some new grease so that they'll work for months and years to come. So the first thing you're going to want to do is jack up your trailer. This is kind of an odd spot to be jacking up my trailer, but it works and it's a really easy place to get the jack in. And if I try to put it right underneath the wheel, then the jack doesn't go high enough. So I've got this little bumper here on the back of the trailer that gets it up plenty high. So now the wheel does spin freely and we can start working on pulling the wheel off. So I went ahead and grabbed a pair of Knipex or Knipex, however you'd prefer to pronounce it, pliers and or water pump pliers, and tried pulling off the dust cap and it just would not come, and so I ended up taking a torch to it, just a little propane torch. And you want to be really careful if you choose to go that route and pull out a little torch to heat up the dust cap to pull it off if you need to. You will want to remove the valve core from the tire and release all the air to make sure that you don't build up excess pressure and have that tire explode on you or in your face or anything like that. And so once I heated up the grease enough that it became kind of loose and a little bit easier to pull off, I grabbed a larger pair of channel locks and was able to pull it off and remove it so I could have access to the castle nut and the cotter pin that goes into the castle nut. So any tool that you see me use in this video that you do not have and would like to pick up, there's going to be a link in the description below. You can go click on that, go to Amazon, and then if you do end up purchasing that tool or any of these tools through the link, then it'll help out my channel a little bit. And Amazon gives me a very small percentage of what you buy, and it costs you nothing extra. So now that you have the dust cover off, we need to go ahead and pull the cotter pin out of here. You can use a pair of needle nose pliers, or you can use one of these dikes, a pair of dikes, which is what I'm using here. They fit pretty loose in that hole, so they come out pretty easy. You can reuse it. I have an assortment of cotter pins, so I'm probably not going to reuse that one. Because it's just easier to put a brand new one in, and I've got them, so I might as well use them. So then you'll want to go ahead and pull this castle nut off. This is a really greasy project, so you probably are going to want a pair of gloves. I actually have gloves to wear, I just don't have them on for some reason. So once you have the castle nut off, you can go ahead and start pulling this wheel off. Be careful of exactly what just happened. The bearing and the washer will just fall out. Now it's covered in dirt, so I'm going to have to clean this really good. Be careful while you're pulling it off not to tear up the rear main seal on this wheel. Pull it off real carefully, and if you want to, you have a shop, you can pretty much finish the rest of this inside of the shop. Alright, so of the parts that I do have here out of the wheel already, which is the front bearing or the smaller bearing, I'm going to go ahead and try and clean off some of the grit and grease and grime that I have on it. Throw it in the bucket. Take that castle nut. Probably not as important, but why not, to clean it. Then we'll take the washer here. Try and clean off some of this crap too. Throw it in the bucket. Then I've got Purple Power. Super Clean is another favorite of mine. This is just the oldest product I have, so I'm trying to get it out first. Go ahead and dump some in there. Probably way more than I need. And get everything laying flat and giving it a good stir around so that degreaser can start breaking down the grease on those parts. So this is where I actually don't even have the right tool. I do actually, I don't know where it's at. I can't find it for some reason. You just need a seal puller to pull this seal out so you can get to this rear main bearing. But I just have a pick here. I think it'll work. Well, I know it'll work because I used it on my other wheel before making this video. I'm just going to real carefully try and start prying this up without wrecking anything or busting any holes in the seal. Just trying to be real careful and gentle. Let's start here. I'm going to use this pry bar first. Get it broke loose. If you have a sill puller, this is going to be a whole lot more simple. It's coming slowly but surely. we go. Yeah, I think it's still in good enough shape. I didn't really wreck any of the rubber. I did bend up the steel a little bit though, or aluminum, whatever kind of metal it is. So there's the bearing. I didn't really get to show you on the other one because it fell into the dirt, but I think this one's pretty well greased. I just think that the grease is old, although it does feel okay as far as I can tell. While waiting for the degreaser to go to work on those parts and all that old grease, you may want to come in here into the wheel and clean out the old grease inside of here, maybe even spray in some degreaser and clean them out. So this tool is a bearing packer. While I give the degreaser more time, I'm going to get this thing set up and ready to go. I have never used one before, but they seem pretty straightforward. I've got just some generic grease here. Maybe I need to have a better grease, like some wheel bearing specific grease, but I think this stuff will work just fine. I'm going to wipe off a bunch into here, so when my bearings are all degreased and cleaned up and ready to go, I can repack the bearings. So you can repack the bearings by hand, or you can use this tool. I decided to go ahead and buy this tool for this second wheel bearing just to try it out. It seems like a way better way to pack these bearings and to make sure that you have new clean grease all the way through them and that they're really good and lubricated. I'm giving the bearing a good wipe down, and now I'm going to go ahead and just go blow out the grease out from in between the two rings here of the bearing and try and get as much of that old grease out as possible. So you can come out here to the axle and clean the axle off, pull that old grease off. You can take a little degreaser to it if you want to. I don't know that I need to. I think I can get most of it with the rag here. Alright, so I got these bearings pretty clean, so I think it's time to go ahead and pack these with grease. So you're going to place them into this thing nose down, from what I understand. This thing threads onto here, thread it right down to the bearing, I think. So now we're just going to go ahead and push on it. Holy cow, that worked awesome. I did not expect that. But you can see it packed in new grease all the way around there. I did push out a little bit more old grease. So you'll just want to take some of this on the inner ring. Hopefully you can see that. And you want to wipe it around on the outside of the bearing here and just get it all nice and greased and lubricated. I think that looks pretty good. We'll go ahead and do the smaller front side, and we'll go ahead and push down and add some grease. Nice. Yep, so we push some grease all the way through there. Really nice. Rub it around the outside of the ring. Alright, so now let's go ahead and rub a little bit of grease on the inside of the wheel here where the bearings will ride. So now we can place the bigger bearing, which is in the back. Put it in place. We'll grab that seal, metal side out, pocket side in. Alright, and that wheel seal is now set, and the rear bearing is now captured in there. Going here to the front side, you may not want to do this. Actually, you do need to do this. Go ahead and add some grease to that side first. Anyway, this is the part you may not want to do. I'm going to go ahead and drop that bearing in there, kind of push it in there, get it stuck. And now it's time to go put it on the axle. Alright, let's go ahead and throw a little grease on the axle here. Okay, now it's time to put the wheel back on. Be careful not to tear that seal up on the back. And that's exactly why you don't want to put that front bearing in. Had no trouble with it the first day. Now I'm having all kinds of trouble with it. Got to clean it and repack it. Alright, we got the front bearing cleaned up again. So on this axle we have a little keyway here on the washer. Make sure that's lined up right. Take your castle nut, thread it on. Let's go ahead and tighten up our castle nut. So you'll want to tighten it up pretty tight. Wiggle it, see if you can wiggle it. You can't. Back it off just a little bit. Wiggle it. And then tighten it up to where you can get the cotter pin in. Or if you have to, back it off a little bit. Bend your cotter pin around. I think we're in good shape. So now you can go ahead and let down the jack and you should be good to go. So thanks everyone for watching. Remember to use those Amazon links to support the channel a little bit. Remember, I get a little bit of a cut off of those and it doesn't cost you anything extra if you want to buy any of the tools mentioned in this video. Also, if you could give me a thumbs up, that always helps me out with the YouTube algorithms. And if you're not a subscriber, go down and click subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Again, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.